Welcome to I'd Print That. I'm Andrew.
I'm Joe.
What'd you do this week, Joe?
This week was very successful. I printed some GoPro mounts for my Prusa. Been attempting to print the shock mount for a microphone. I started it. It got almost 2 hours into the print, and by that time it was late. I went to bed. I woke up in the morning, and my printer had knocked both pieces onto the floor, and I woke up to a wad of spaghetti on my print bed.
Or a loofah. I call them loofahs.
Yeah. Also been making some parts for my wife. It's spring now, and
I'm sorry.
I do not have an assembled wife. I swear she's real.
She's real. Trust me. She talks like a real person, too.
It's very convincing AI.
He did not print parts for his wife. He printed parts for his wife to use.
To use, yes. It's spring and she gardens, and one of the things that she has is an herb garden. She grows thyme and rosemary and other things, and I thought it'd be kind of nice to get her a little herb grinder that she could use when she wants to store those. I've been printing that for her also.
To use.
Yes, to use. As far as that goes, that was all accomplished by some maintenance I did earlier in the week. I wound up getting my voltmeter out and checking the continuity of my extruder cables, because I said last week I was having some issues with one or both of them. And I found that of the 4 wires that were in the cable for my second extruder, all 4 of those were busted. So I grabbed ye old soldering iron and soldered the connections back on, and I checked my primary extruder, and one of the 4 wires was broke.
Intermittent, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, it was
broke.
By the time that I had gotten around to fixing it, it had just did itself in.
Yeah.
So I reattached that, and I hit the other 3 to strengthen them up, and it's been working beautifully. I've learned that it's best that I re-level my bed after every print, regardless of failure or success, because we've discussed this in the past. I don't know if we've discussed it on the podcast, but one of the issues with the borosilicate glass is it tends to warp.
Mm-hmm. I think we did talk about it on the podcast, because I was talking about switching to a
Aluminum?
Aluminum possibly, but not the proprietary. I don't think they use borosilicate on the Davincis.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a different makeup. But yeah, I've spoken on switching to a borosilicate or an aluminum bed on the Davincis, because the printer that's sitting here all torn apart does have the front left corner is warped. And the other printer, actually, and the other problem that Davincis have is they will chip.
Right, yeah, you talked about there's a chip in the middle of your print bed, and you're going to peel
You can actually just flip it. You have
Right.
to peel the heater off, which is kind of a pain. But Chuck Hellerbucks, and I'm sorry, Chuck, if you're listening, if you ever listen to the podcast, I'm going to butcher your last name. That's a special one I can't do. But he has a great tutorial on peeling off the silicone heater and flipping the bed, reapplying the heater. I don't even believe he actually even glued the new one down.
No, he didn't. He got through and did all the work and said, all right, I'm going to test this. I forgot to re-adhere the heater to the bed.
Mm-hmm.
I actually watched the video. I had to look it up just so I could link it.
He's actually really, really thorough. He does have a couple printers that he's flashed to rep headier, but I think for the most part he uses XYZ ware, and he's had good luck with it.
Mm-hmm.
More power to him. But yeah, he's got a good video. If you have a Davinci and you have the same problem, that it's got the inevitable chipped bed and the warping, it's not going to help you flipping it, but definitely with the chipped bed. The other printer I have has a decent sized chip in the center, and every time you hear it cool down, you can hear the bed creaking.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it's just stress cracks going towards that crack in the center.
It's probably.
I just positioned my prints away from the chip. And actually, I did have one print. It was actually the parts for the E3D that did print over the chip, and I didn't have a problem.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, for me, I didn't print it all this week.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done. I'm sorry.
There's there's other things.
I relinquish the floor to Joe.
Yeah, you get excited, eh?
Eh? Poser?
So that's one thing I found. I will basically bring my printer up to temp, and then I will put the glue on the bed, and then I will take and level it. And I actually use a set of feeler gauges. Going off my primary extruder, I will level it out to 0.1, and I get some really good prints with that.
Yeah, you get better adhesion with that for sure.
Yep.
Have you tried the ABS slurry I gave you yet?
I have not. I've been a little nervous about that. I've been having good luck with the glue.
Are you using the Craft Bond?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that glue.
Yeah, I've been using the Craft Bond, and it's been working really, really good for me. So that's one thing that I have found is I have to be religious about leveling the bed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if, like I said, if fail or success, I go back through and I re-level it. It is inevitably too high or too low the second time I go through. I have not adjusted anything on the printer between prints. I go back through and I check my bed level. It's always off.
Do you level your bed with it heated?
Yes.
Extruder and the bed?
Yep.
Okay.
Both.
Because that does make a big difference to people listening. When you do level, make sure you're leveling with a heated bed and heated extruder, because everything expands under heat.
Yep.
And your bed will actually be minusculely taller, but it makes a difference in printing.
Yeah, I have found out that doing it heated versus unheated, I get better results when I do my bed leveling with the bed and the nozzle heated.
Yeah, and that's the actual environment it's going to print in. So you want it to be the best it can in the environment it's going to use. Now, cooled off and just sitting there. Actually, before Davinci before Luck went through and made the Repeater firmware for the Davincis, because the XYZ bed leveling is horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
When I got my printer, people said, this is the worst part. It was hours upon hours to get this thing to work out right, because it uses auto bed leveling.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say auto bed leveling, it didn't adjust itself. It has a probe that touches the bed clips in 3 spots.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probe it, it'll give you the measurement of each one, and they have to be within, and I can't remember the tolerance it would accept. And then it would actually write it to the EEPROM that's the offset of the print. It was horrendous because it would heat up, you would get your measurements, so at least the first 5 tries, you were never going to get it level, and you had to wait for the heat up for it to measure, you had to do the calculations, and it got to the point where I was trying to time myself and get it fast enough to where I wasn't having to wait for the printer to heat up again to make my adjustments. And there's no, you can see on the Davincis, you can't, but I'm showing Joe, this thumb screw, try to move that a half a turn.
It's probably pretty tough.
Accurately. No, it doesn't happen. Yeah. And actually on Thingiverse, there's a guy that has created a extension to those thumb screws with they have 2 little tangs that come out the sides, and you mark one so you can tell exactly where you are on your rotation. I haven't printed those and made them, but I plan to, because I am going to switch mine, and everybody that's way into geometry will argue with me, and even me being a drafter, I argue with myself, but I want it easier, and with a warped bed, it'll be way easier. The plane is measured by 3 points, and it's the most accurate way to level a bed. Every time you move one of the screws, it's going to screw up the opposite end. So you can't one time level a bed.
I've seen arguments pro and con it. They say you level your front 2 corners and then you do the back middle, which adjusts the back altogether. That's the way you're supposed to do it, but I have great luck with my printer. It uses 4-corner leveling.
Yeah. And where I was going with that is there's a guy on Thingiverse that has re-engineered the bed leveling. It leaves the center front screw in, but it also gives you screws on either side in the front to where you can, in my case, I'm going to have to crank the front left side up to make up for the warp that's in it. And the only time it really affects me printing is when I'm printing a large object. Otherwise, I just don't print in the front left corner to take up for the little discrepancy that's there.
Right.
And generally, the only problem you have with it is first layer. Because it just won't adhere because it's not pressing to the bed.
Right.
But, yeah, cool.
Other than bed leveling, I wound up getting my first shipment from my printer manufacturer that had the pulley and one of the 2 bearings that they were supposed to send me, and then a stepper gear.
And that's from Geetech, right?
SmartBot, but it's through Geetech.
Are they just a reseller of Geetech?
I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think it's just one of their resellers. It was nice that they at least included the stepper gear.
That you didn't need?
Which I honestly I didn't need, but
you have it.
It was nice.
It's a thing.
The bummer is if I didn't have a hobby shop that I could have bought those bearings from, I would have had half the bearings that I needed. So I'll have to get hold of them and have them send me out another one just to make up for it. The 2560 board and the other parts that they had sent, the extruder cables and the Z-rods, those have actually all come through customs and they're in USPS right now, and I would imagine that they'd be here by the end of next week. It'll be nice to check those Z-rods, verify that they are in fact straight, and get rid of that Z-banding once and for all.
Awesome.
I do have a MK3 or Mark III, whatever they want to call it, aluminum heated bed on the way. Another thing my wife was doing, she was looking at some art supplies and needed to spend a little bit extra money to get some add-on items, and I wound up having a aluminum heated bed in my wish list on Amazon, so that got thrown into the order, and I should have that middle of next week.
Perfect.
Or actually middle of this week. It'll be a nice little upgrade. I won't have to worry about bed clips, which bed clips are annoying. My carriage runs into them and knocks them off of my glass, and I don't like that.
You're just being picky.
I know I'm being picky, but you know what? It's worth it. I would rather not have to deal with that headache.
I do have one little update. A couple podcasts ago, we found out about Filament One and their penny samples. 1 cent samples, right? Yes. Unfortunately, we ordered them and haven't heard really much anything. I did get an email from them. My order, not Joe's. Joe's order is still... Something's happening with it. We're not sure. Yeah, it's churning somewhere in the ether. They had an issue with their system, and unfortunately my order got canceled. I contacted them through Facebook, through their Facebook page. They were very responsive. Mm-hmm. I think within 10 minutes of me opening a direct message to them and talking to them about it, they have said that they have resent my order. And so apparently the problem is you can only order samples once through them, which is understandable. You don't want a bunch of people just ordering a penny worth of the filament that they want. I mean, you could effectively get a kilogram of filament just for a penny. It depends on how much they're including, though. Yeah, we're not certain on how big the samples are yet. Like I said, we unfortunately haven't received them. I'm excited, and I know Joe is as well, to be able to try out a filament and say, hey, we like this, or unfortunately we don't, and this is why. I don't expect that to happen. Right. But one big part of what we'd like to do is give honest reviews on filament printer parts. I'm going to give an honest review on the E3D V6 that I received from Matter Hackers. Mm-hmm. It's sitting right here. I just grabbed it and looked at it because it's pretty. And like a young child, we're going to work on the printer after the podcast, but I have to wait till I'm done with my podcast before I can play with my printer. You have to finish your vegetables before you can have dessert. I do. But we're hopefully tonight, because I have a little extra time, kids are at grandma's, wife's at a convention. Hopefully we can get it up and running tonight. That'd be awesome. On that work, and you're wanting to play Grim Dawn also. Yes, Grim Dawn. We talked about that last week, and we have both actually... bought it. I created a character. I'm level 6 on one character right now. I only did it just so I could kind of get a feel for the game, check out one of the specialization trees. Mm-hmm. The gameplay is a lot like Diablo. I mean, Diablo lot. Too. Yes. Like, graphics-wise... It just has that feel. Yeah. Like I said, all I did was create a character. I didn't want to play that night that I bought the game because Joe wasn't going to be able to get on, and I was being nice and not playing without Joe. I'm not playing the class I want to play. No, mostly for me, like I said in the past, I have kids. I have a 2-year-old that's been recently having a really big problem with sleeping through the night. Mm-hmm. And she kind of started sleeping through the night and being a lot easier to get back to sleep. So I took that opportunity this entire week and was in bed by 10 o'clock. It was nice. Fine. I got lots of sleep. Yeah, you get to catch up on sleep. But yeah, we definitely are going to play. I'm going to try to stream to Twitch if we can. I need to pick up a green screen to do so. Just got to go grab some filament from Fabric store. Fabric. I'm going to print myself a green screen, dang it. It's going to take a while. Well, and I say, if you're getting filament from a fabric store, isn't that yarn? Well, yeah. For a loom. It's a loom filament. Anyway. You'll crochet or knit yourself a green screen. I am not that hipster. Although, I did get called a hipster the other day. You know why? Why? They said my glasses were hipster. Apparently, my eyes failing makes me a hipster. You're a hipster because you have to wear glasses, or is it was my style of glasses. Okay. Apparently, my style of glasses is hipster. Unfortunately, it's just by necessity because these are called fat heads because they were the only ones that would fit around my fat head. And I don't wear aviators.
You don't want to be like Tom Cruise?
I do not want to be like Tom Cruise. I'm more of a goose guy.
Not a Maverick guy. I'm more of an Iceman guy.
Iceman. See, I got that one. It didn't go unnoticed. We've been kind of having a thing going on. I don't know if you guys ever catch it or not, whoever does listen. And actually, I have some funny statistics to go through after this about listeners. Randomly, we both drop
Off-the-wall movie quotes.
And we work them into the podcast, and we're just kind of seeing if the other person, we have so many people here. Joe catches it. There's been a few. I did a Lord of the Rings one for the .amf additive manufacturing files.
Yep.
I dropped that one, and then he dropped a Meatloaf one in the same one that I completely missed.
It's not that I didn't.
Actually, you followed my quote with that.
I didn't. It's not that I didn't get
didn't
the ring one. It's I decided not to make comment on it.
Oh yeah, that's what he said.
Because I did say it after, the next day. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I did catch that. I just didn't follow up with it.
In my case, I completely missed the Meatloaf quote.
Yeah, but I kind of chalked it up to you being an infant.
I'm not an infant. Just because I have a baby face. It's hidden under a neck beard, but... yeah, there's a little bit of an age gap between Joe and I.
That's fine. It's not a big deal.
I mean, other than that, actually, and I haven't even spoken to you about it, something that kind of throws back to last week's podcast about the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I have took it upon myself. I'm going to remix, it's on Thingiverse, and it's an original TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to remix one and scale it up and break it up into printable parts, and I'm making a TIE Fighter PC case. It's happening.
Awesome.
I have to make it happen.
It's going to come down to what all you can get in there, because you're going to have to use small components for that.
Well, 200 by 200 is what I can print part-wise. That's going to be the hard part. I know how to model. I know how to play around. I've never broken a model up. There are slicers that automatically can do it for you that will proportionally break up a model. Cura does it by default.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell it to auto do it. But I'm going to do it myself. I may even use AutoCAD for it, just because I'm a lot more comfortable with CAD because of work.
Well, yeah, and you have a copy of CAD, so
it's kind of my thing. But yeah, I want to make one. As soon as we discovered the Falcon, and they said that if you don't want to print all the intricate parts, you can just print it as a shell and use it as a PC case. And it was a light bulb moment. And I was like, oh, I need. And the big push for me, and I probably won't make it for this year. Joe and I have spoken. We're going to try to make it a PDX LAN.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to show up at PDX LAN with a TIE Fighter PC case.
Yeah, that'd be kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully we're able to make it this year. We've spoken on it.
It's really going to depend on what time of the year it is, because I've got a vacation that's coming up.
Oh yeah, you're going to concerts.
Yeah, I'm going to 2 concerts.
That's like in a month.
Yep. Can't remember what it was. There was another concert that's happening that same week. And I was just like, it was just way too much going on.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And also, I'm going to be on...
Because you are going to Disneyland.
I'm going to Disneyland! I'm taking my children because I am stupid. My family's huge into Disney, and I have children, so by default, they are into Disney. We did Disney World last spring, and now we're just going to go land this year. The big one was we weren't sure about it because my youngest is 2, and it's like, oof, she's not even going to know. She's not even going to remember. She'll see pictures. Woohoo!
Yeah.
But this year at Christmas, she said, I want to go see Santa, and I said, okay, where do you want to go see Santa? And she said Mickey's house. So that kind of cemented us going to Disneyland. So that's for me. It's going to soak up a lot of my vacation time. It's only a weekend. There's actually a guy at work that goes, and he doesn't take any time off to do it. And we're both getting too old for that shit. I used to drive a lot for work, and driving for 8 hours and doing a thing, and then driving for 8 hours, turning back around. It used to be a thing, and not anymore. I would have to take that Friday and Monday off.
Yeah, that's kind of the deal with the concerts I'm going to. They're in Seattle, so we're talking 6-hour drive. Actually, it's to Tacoma, so add another hour.
No, it's 6.
Still 6?
My wife's at a conference. She's at a conference in Tacoma, and they made it right around 6.
Well...
But they got a speeding ticket.
They got a speeding ticket also.
I guess I can't really But as we were talking, like I said, for work, I used to travel all of Washington and Oregon. I can make it to Seattle in 5 if I don't have to stop for fuel. And my work truck had a 200-gallon slip tank that was connected into my fuel system, so I could just switch over and use off my slip tank and never have to stop.
No, that's nice.
It is, but like I said, I can't do that anymore.
We're looking at leaving, I think, the day of the concert. So, Oh Dark 30 Monday, driving to Tacoma, going to see Iron Maiden, leaving the Iron Maiden concert, driving to Seattle, getting our hotel in Seattle, stay the night, get up next morning, fart around, do whatever we need to do, go see George Clinton, go back to the hotel, and then bugger off back to Idaho the next day.
Yeah, and it's a full couple days worth of things.
Yeah.
And then adding the killer is the driving home. Because at least when you're driving there, it's like, oh, we're going to go do a thing. And you're like, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
It's home. It's still there.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Apparently it's where the heart is, though.
It's where something is.
It's where all my cool toys are.
I will be without printing for at least a couple of days.
Oh,
but it's not, oh no. Whatever shall I do?
So yeah, that's and I completely spaced telling you about it because I've been pondering it for a while. And mainly I was pondering it because it's like, do I really want to get myself into that? Do I want to dedicate the time to do that? And then I went, why not? It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan came and spoke to me, and then I was like, why are you talking to me? I'm Imperial.
Darth Maul came and spoke to you, or Lord Vader came and spoke to you.
Darth Maul's still alive.
He didn't die in episode 1.
Spider. A mechanical spider.
Yeah, he kind of pieced himself together as a spider, but...
And then he got made into a really cool spider.
He was bipedal when he got his cybernetic implants for the waist down.
So, yeah.
Wikipedia, go check it out.
Wikipedia.
Yep. That was okay.
That happened. I'm pretty sure I'm going to dedicate an entirely insurmountable amount of time to doing that. The cool thing about it, it's one of those things where it's just like my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get that? I made it. Where can I buy one? Etsy.
So speaking of wallets, I was at a local convenience store here earlier this week.
Oh yeah.
One of the guys who's worked there for a while, he's been there for years now. I was standing in line and he looks up, waves a couple of us over to another register. So I go over there and had a candy bar and iced tea or something. And he rings it up and says, that's such and such. So I pull out my wallet to pay it. He goes, oh, did you print that? I said, why, yes, I did. He goes, I just got a printer. And so we talked for a little bit. He just picked up his own little 3D printer. He's working on getting it configured and working. But I told him, oh, hey, you have any questions or need any help or just looking to listen to something? Told him about the podcast and what we do. So hopefully he takes a moment and listens.
I'm sure he will.
I'm sure. And if you go by Holiday and Hayden, say hi to Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Actually, we had a really cool thing happen.
What's that?
My father-in-law got a hold of me yesterday. Yeah. His brother is a teacher, a high school teacher. He teaches, I think it's calculus and algebra 2. And they received a printer for their classroom. And he was talking to his brother, my father-in-law, about it. And he went, Andrew is really into 3D printing. He's got 2 printers. He has a podcast about it. So it got him really excited. And he reached out and got a hold of us. And the one thing I presented was, we really think the whole getting printers in classrooms and having kids interact with them is awesome. We would love to talk to you on the podcast and hear what it's like, because he knew of 3D printing and had no experience with it, but what it's like to, so to say, get thrown into the fire and help kids with it.
I saw the message. He sent us a message via our website. Have you actually read that message?
I actually have, and what I'm looking at right now...
He wants us to speak with the kids, it sounds like, which is a road show.
Why not?
I really don't have an issue with
Internet famous.
Something like that.
Actually, what I'm looking at right now is, he said a couple of the kids has uploaded their stuff to Thingiverse, and he was really excited because it got 14 downloads, and it really speaks to us because it's Yoda's lightsaber.
Yeah.
And now he's at 87 downloads and 247 views. Very cool. We'll link the 2 items that the kids have uploaded to Thingiverse. I think this is really cool because this is what 3D printing really needs to be targeted at. Is younger kids, and if they get to play with it in school, they get to learn what it does. It's not going to be one of those situations like there's a 3D printer on Craigslist that we've been looking at for a while where the guy bought it for his kids, and I have a feeling he pretty much went, here, it's a thing. Do things with it.
Oh, this is the one over in
Richland.
Richland, yeah.
It literally says in his Craigslist posting the kids don't really like it. And I have a feeling, unless, granted, there are kids that just aren't interested in this kind of things, and that's fine.
Right.
But I have a feeling that if I were to be handed it with no previous knowledge, not a sound mechanical background, and interested in this kind of stuff, if I were to be handed even one of the Davincis, I would go, this thing's junk. I can't make it print anything cool.
Yeah.
But kids in school being able to play with it and tinker with it, and a passionate teacher showing them, this is the cool stuff you can do with this. This is really what's going to give this industry traction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really awesome. I think Joe shares that same thought. Even if we do have to drive down to said place where he's a teacher, and heck, why not? Let's talk in class.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with that at all. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I mean, I would be completely willing to bring one of the Davincis down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still uncertain. I do know that MakerBot, I think they donate a lot of printers to schools. Because a fellow at work that we work with, his wife's a teacher, and she has a printer in her classroom, and it's a MakerBot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they got a grant to get it. And I'm sure they cut them an amazing deal on them, because I think they're of the same mindset that this is our target audience, is younger minds that will really give this traction.
Well, that's the thing is, because this is technology for the future, it's going to evolve, and the best way to get people into it is when they're younger. So it's the younger minds that are very creative and developing, and they kind of see things a little bit differently than us adults. I'm 40, and my imagination, admittedly, isn't what it used to be. I may see this as a tool or this utility where they can see it as this cool little thing that they can make fun little items with and work on, little problems like, wow, it'd be better if it did this instead of that.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's even a news article I linked in one of my blog posts about kids are the future of 3D printing. Yeah, there's no denying it.
Confirmed. It's a MakerBot replicator, 5th gen.
Okay.
That's what they're printing on. So that's what they have in the classroom.
Nice.
It's awesome. And it could even become a thing. I mean, I know we've talked about going down to our local makerspace and doing a podcast from there, which we probably should get a hold of them.
Yeah. Well, we're 9 episodes now, and I was just kind of waiting for us to build up some episodes, get some momentum going, and then revisit Gizmo and see how they're doing.
So speaking of momentum, and I mentioned it a second ago, a cool statistic. Where do you think our most played city is?
Well, I know where the most played city is.
I'm not asking you. So pause the episode, do a little thinking, take a wild guess. So our most played city is in Seoul, Korea. I don't know. I think it's wild. I think and our next most played city
is in Texas.
Amarillo, Texas.
Yep.
And we get a lot of plays from Germany, Belgium, Spain.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I could almost say like dream come true. People are actually listening to us, and it's cool, and people are interested, and I don't know, it's surreal to me.
No, that kind of brings us to a place where I've been wanting to. I think we haven't talked a lot about lately. I know back in our first episode we've mentioned it, but if you really like what we're doing, if you're really interested, follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe to our channel, and if you have a extra buck or two, become a patron.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely not saying we're not going to make more podcasts if you don't give us money. Definitely not. But what we're trying to say is it does cost us money. When we first started, we both kind of came to the agreement of let's do it as cheap as possible and just make it work.
Right. And
we're really enjoying what we do. And as in anybody that's doing something that they really enjoy, they want to always be better at it. And that's what we're doing. It's not like we're frivolously buying stuff. The mic boom, it helped us exponentially. Because before, we had to have our hands off the table. You couldn't set anything down.
And I can rest my arms on the table now, and we have a little bit more workspace. If I come down here and pull out my soldering station, and like I was working on extruder cables, I can just take and rotate the mic out of the way and use it as a workbench.
Yeah. And it has improved our quality. I can sit here with a laptop. Joe can sit here with his laptop. The windscreen is nice because it's filtering out. I've noticed in the last episode, because episode 8 was the first episode we recorded with the windscreen and the mic boom.
Yep.
Made all the difference.
It definitely cuts down on a little of the ambient background noise.
Yeah, and you're going to hear it. My laptop is... Windows is helping. It needs to update, and for some reason it has pegged my CPU fan, and it's sitting here right under the mic.
Yeah, but I really don't notice it. It's got. I hear a little bit of the fan in the background, but
minus that windscreen, it wouldn't even be worth. I'd just have to power down my laptop.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would greatly appreciated. Definitely not needed. Don't feel obligated to do so.
Please don't feel obligated, but it's nice to have a little bit of support. Mm-hmm. We can do some fun things.
Even without having anything, to me, just people listening to what we're talking about is surreal and cool, and Joe and I have been talking about doing this for a long time, and now we're in episode 9.
And that's where the followers come in. By following us, it lets us know that you have interest and you want more.
Yeah.
And we'll give you more. Oh, we'll definitely do that.
Whoa. Easy.
We won't go the full Monty, but we will definitely record more podcasts and give you more tips, tricks, and 3D printing news.
If we have said something that helped you out, say something.
Comment, please.
Yeah, comment, please. We love to hear your feedback. Heck, if we said something wrong and you're like, you're wrong.
Speaking of comments, actually, I had a gentleman by the name of Thomas get a hold of me. He was looking for the M3D Backlash calculator and going through our tutorial on our website. And he pointed out that he wasn't able to see the calculator. So I went out to the website and I checked, and sure enough, it wasn't showing up. Well, during one of Chrome's automatic updates, they changed the way Chrome handles some embedded content.
Okay.
And I had to, on the fly, come up with a solution. So I made a little JavaScript pop-up that has the little calculator in it now. He was pretty amazed at how quickly that I got back to him. I just happened to not be doing anything and sitting there, and I saw an email come in. I saw it was about the site. I was back to him within, 5-10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And him and I chatted back and forth. As far as I know, it's helped him out. He hasn't said anything that it didn't help, so I like seeing people that are willing to say something if it's not working.
I mean, and also we know someone's using something we created.
Right. Somebody's actually gone through the M3D site, has seen that there's a post about the Backlash calculator, and they're using it.
Yeah, very, very cool.
You spoke a few moments ago about how Grim Dawn is like Diablo 2. Mm-hmm. Did you see Diablo 2 recently got a patch?
Yes, and vanilla Diablo went free to play.
Really?
Yes.
I did not see that. Yeah, the last patch Diablo 2 had prior to this one was October 27th, 2011. This new patch, it doesn't add anything new. All it really does is makes the game compatible with newer operating systems. So there's no need to keep an old Windows machine around or an old Mac machine around. The patch is going to be 1.14a, and it's basically just a backwards compatibility patch. I got to dig out my old copy of Diablo 2 now if I want to play that.
Why?
I don't know. It's still got a good following, though.
It does, but that's one thing I've never got about gaming. Like, I've had some games that I grew up on that were awesome, and they were awesome when I was that age.
It's like StarCraft. I wouldn't go back and play StarCraft.
No, it's still the same thing, and I've already beat it, and there's new things I'm playing.
Right.
I get nostalgia and everything, but I've never been one to go back to a game. Once I've found a reason to not play it, that reason's pretty much going to stay there.
Yeah.
Diablo. I'll get tired of Diablo. But I go back. New season comes. I go back.
Yeah.
Even Joe came back.
Yep.
For a little bit.
So
he doesn't play anymore.
Speaking of other games and stuff, here a year ago, Paradox released a SimCity-inspired game called Cities Skylines.
Oh, yeah.
And they have now announced that it has sold more than 2 million copies worldwide. When it was released, Skylines sold 250,000 copies in the first 24 hours.
And
Making
Joe was
it
one of those.
Yes, I was, and it helped make that game become one of Paradox's fastest-selling games in history. In an effort to celebrate the game's first birthday and its big success, Paradox has announced that it's going to release a free content update later this month, which is going to add some new features. The update, which is coming out on March 22nd, is going to introduce landscaping-themed content and features including the ability to perform mild terraforming for existing cities. Additionally, the update will make other structures available for construction. The developers also teased that they plan on supporting Skylines for years into the future with meaningful new content and challenges. They have already had one expansion titled Snowfall, which was released in February. I'm kind of behind on my Skylines playing. I need to fire up my Steam account and play a little bit more of that.
Fire it up.
Oh, I fired it up to install Grim Dawn, in which I played a little bit of, but still go for it.
Yeah, I might even try. The other, actually, we were talking about this before. I may try Sid Meier's Civilization. Mm-hmm. I've read a couple cool reviews about it.
Civ 5, right?
Don't know.
Newest ones should be Civilization 5.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what I've come to is I go to Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to watch Let's Plays on YouTube and stuff, which I used to go to if I was going to buy a game and look at a game. But generally, Let's Plays are only highlights of games and the cool stuff that happens, and which I believe is the correct way to do content.
Well, Let's Plays can also be derpy things that happen also.
Yes, they can. But generally, people edit those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's Plays have come a long ways in gaming. But I generally go to Twitch, because then you can see what the grindy part of the game is. Mm-hmm. There's a new game that just came out, Stardew Valley. It gained a lot of hype, and I'm not sure why. It's a fairly derpy little game.
It's like Goat Simulator.
Oh, God, I don't understand that one.
It's a buggy game, and people are just absolutely...
They're bananas over this stupid
bananas
game.
Over the damn thing.
I go to Twitch and I watch somebody play. I've been recently just completely hooked on Twitch. Mostly because, after a while for me, even drafting, music gets... bleh. Yeah. Even just listening to dubstep, which is my general pick for when I'm drafting, because it's just a beat, you can draft, you can block out the world. Mm-hmm. But I listen to Twitch a lot now, listen to people play. I follow Chainer on Diablo, a little bit of a fanboy for him.
Well, you've also been on his channel.
I've been on his stream as well, yeah, that was cool. That was a funny moment. I went, and everybody went, what? I said, come and look! I'm famous! My barbarian's famous!
For all of about
5 minutes. What had happened? But yeah, gaming online has evolved into people watching people play games. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a downgrade. I know there was a South Park episode that made a hilarious amount of fun of it, but...
not everybody sees it the same way. When I was a kid, I would love to have had something like that, but that didn't happen for many, 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 many years.
You have to remember how old he is.
Yes. Yeah. So that was some news on the positive side of gaming. This is
positive side.
What's that?
The not so positive side.
Yeah, on the flip side of that coin, Microsoft has closed down Lionhead Studios and some other ones. They've decided.
What's Lionhead, Joe?
Lionhead Studios?
Yeah.
Oh, they only made a little game called Fable.
Fable, and they killed it.
They killed the new one that's actually in closed beta right now, Fable Legends. It was a 4-player role-playing game, and they decided that they were not going to continue developing it.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, I played Fable on Xbox, and that was fun.
I've got Fable 3 sitting upstairs waiting for me to finish it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to a certain point in the game, and I encountered a bug where your wife just disappears.
Oh, did you have to wife someone else? Or does she still get mad?
No, it's interesting because I think they call them Hellgates in there. But I wound up taking a house inside of one of those. So you set your waypoint to your wife. Mm-hmm. All the breadcrumbs pointing towards the gate. Which I go through the gate, I step through, and I go to the house, and the breadcrumbs go back to the gate.
Well, how can you blame her? You made her live in a Hellgate, Joe.
It's actually a very nice little...
Yeah, but the name, Hellgate. Do you want to live in a Hellgate?
I can't say that that's the exact name of the damn thing. I haven't played Fable in, I don't know, years at this point. But
what I'm saying is you can't blame the girl.
No, I guess not. But she did leave her baby there. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I stopped playing and hoped that issue would get taken care of in a future patch, but I really haven't gone back and looked. Becky played through. She didn't have any issues with that, and I believe she went through and beat the game.
Oh, really? I never actually beat him. I'm not a completionist.
I kind of am. I like finishing the games. The interesting thing about that game is even when you're not playing, it keeps track of the money you would have made on properties that you'd rented out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if I log back in, it will calculate the rent that I would have made
From the timestamp in the game?
from when I last played up to this point and give me money. It has, at least in Fable 3, it has the interesting dynamic of if you charge somebody too much for rent, if you're a bit of a slumlord and you jack your prices up, you get evil points.
Yeah, I remember that.
Or if you're good and you didn't really charge a whole bunch, you'd get good points. So it'd be interesting for me to log in and see what my character looks like at this point in the game.
Yeah, because didn't your facial features change and everything?
Oh, everything. You get horns if you're evil, and this big dark aura around you, or you get this big light aura around you with a halo, and you get these blue lines through your body, and yeah. Kind of an interesting dynamic. So in addition to Microsoft shutting down Lionhead Studios, there's also, I believe, Press Play, which was located in Denmark, was one of those. But they've also taken care of or gotten rid of Big Park Function, Good Science, LXP, which is Leap Experience Pioneers, Project Spark, and Soda. Now, several of those were more closely involved with HoloLens development, so their removal from the Microsoft Studios umbrella may align them a little bit more closely with the augmented reality headset. Okay. So some of those guys might be moving towards the AR side of Microsoft. I know Sony had a big play the moment Microsoft shut down Lionhead Studios. They were in the UK and they were, hey, you a developer? Need a new job? Come see us. And they set up an actual job fair, pretty much. So they're trying to get these people in under the Sony umbrella.
You can't blame them.
No, you really can't.
Because they did have good developers. I mean, Fable was an awesome title.
It was. They had 3 renditions, and sadly to say, I think the Fable Legends may have just been taking too long, and they became an expense on a project that people have lost interest in.
And the unfortunate thing is, to me, and this is like the get off my lawn side of me, game companies are just cranking out games.
Yeah.
Without adding a lot to it.
The thing is they will release a game, and then they will be like, here's a season pass for this game, which costs as much as the game itself. Mm-hmm. I remember back in the day where they didn't have that option.
No, DLC was unheard of.
No, and patching a game? Holy crap. Patching a game at launch was never heard of. You had to have a polished product. Now it's...
Well, now they're doing and I hate this on Steam, it burned me on one game that I don't even say its name, is the beta release, and you can purchase the beta.
Oh, is this the one that starts with A and ends in ARC?
Yes. And it looks cool, and I need to play it more.
Well, ARC has evidently come a very long way since even I last...
Yeah.
When I saw you playing, because they were still adding things, and it still looked a little rudimentary, but I have seen gameplay now.
It looks
way different.
And actually, I was actually going to recommend that maybe you pick up a copy of it, because the one cool thing that I saw that would bring me back into playing it and trying it, and what ruined me was the servers. The servers were horrible. It took one person going out and getting lucky and taming a bunch of Spinosauruses, and then setting them to aggro, and they just kill everything.
Right.
So it was almost impossible. Yeah, granted, it's a live server, and you have to play it and continuously play it and upkeep on your dinosaurs and everything to make it work out.
Right.
But it was like, oh, I built a thing. Oh, it's gone. Thanks, guys. But now, what I'm trying to get at, long story short, that's long, they have made a Hunger Games style gameplay.
Really?
Yeah, you start out in a field. You run in, there's a bunch of packages of random items, you can't see what they are. You grab up all you can and you run away, and then you try to survive. And it's obvious it's PvP, so you're trying to tame some dinos to protect yourself, or tame some dinos that are just aggro. There's random mobs that can spawn, like the Broodmother was an endgame mob that you had to gather artifacts to even spawn in the game.
Right.
I think it looks fun. One guy I do follow on YouTube is Slipgator.
Okay.
Him and the guys he does a lot of YouTube with, they do a lot of live streaming of Survival of the Fittest. That's the gameplay. And there's servers out there that just play these Survival of the Fittest. It's an ongoing thing, and you can log in and play a few games and play around. And I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be really fun to stream to Twitch.
Yeah, could be pretty interesting.
So that's definitely, I'm going to revisit Ark for sure. I said it burned me because that was the first time I ever even heard of a pre-release beta that you purchased.
Right.
Betas are generally like, oh, I got lucky and I got invited into this beta because I signed up 3 years ago.
Right.
I purchased it, had a little bit of fun, and then I got disenchanted with it very easily because of the amount of broken that the game was.
Right. Well, and that's beta, unfortunately. Back to the discussion on Microsoft here. If you're worrying about some of their bigger titles, those companies that handle them, 343 Industries, Coalition, Mojang, and Turn 10, those are all sticking around. They, like I said, house some of Microsoft's bigger franchises, Halo, Gears of War, Minecraft, Forza.
I wouldn't worry about Mojang going anywhere.
No.
I mean,
Those guys...
that's a cash cow.
No, they're all cash cows for them at the moment. Mm-hmm. So they'll stick around.
Which would even affect us, because I enjoy the heck out of Minecraft. I recently got Joe to get into Minecraft, and he seems like he enjoys it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been having some fun doing some spelunking. Mm-hmm. I like finding mines and just going out digging holes and seeing what kind of places I can almost fall into.
Randomness.
And yeah, I gotta say, there's definitely a lot more to that game than I initially expected when...
And there's even so much more, not to sound too fanboy about Minecraft, because it's Minecraft. Mm-hmm. It's blocks. It's Legos for adults and kids.
It's digital Legos for...
It's digital Legos, which actually is a digital Lego game.
Really?
Yeah.
I know they've got a lot of the Lego, like Lego Batmans and Star Wars and all that other stuff.
No, this is actually a browser-based, you can just build Legos. Mm-hmm. Google actually made one too.
Huh.
But yeah, there's and they just added a huge content patch to Minecraft, actually. There's shields now, you can dual-wield weapons. If you're going to the story mode of the game, not story mode, that crappy thing they released recently, I watched a couple Let's Plays of it, and I was like, well, this is dumb. It's a pre-made story of Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
I had no interest, have no interest, never will, and you had to purchase it separately, actually.
Yep.
But, I mean, you find the end, you go to the nether, you find which we actually did. I found it and then got severely lost, and then got Joe severely lost in the nether.
However,
we did find our way home.
Managed to find our way back home, and then promptly set my home location.
Yes.
Because I didn't do that. You had just added that mod. Yep,
Bed
had our
home.
beds, and you're like, oh, hey, come here. So I was like, all right, cool. Jumped to where Andrew was, and we're like, oh crap, we're lost. I think we hunted for 30 minutes before we actually found the way back out. It was almost the point where we were like,
roll back the server. But no, it's fun. Well, and what I was saying is there's a whole nether, so we found the nether fortress. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the End, and you kill the Ender Dragon. Mm-hmm. Lots of cool stuff, and they added a bunch of new stuff to the End. There's a fortress in the End now. Mm-hmm. That's cool, and a lot of like the big build things that I want to do. One of them is a Ender Pearl farm in the End. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. It's quite the undertaking. Not near the undertaking Erebor is going to be, but that's still in the cards for us to do and play and release, and it's a time sink that we have to have the time to dedicate to.
Not just that, but we have to have a server to game on also. Right now, the server that we had, we lost access to it, so unfortunately, we're serverless.
That's all right. That's easily fixed for us.
Yeah. Other than that, I had a few other news items I wanted to cover. I'm going to actually skip a few of these. If you're interested, I will go ahead and I'll link them on the website as well. One of them was Goodyear unveiling a concept for a 3D printed spherical tire that's primarily for automated cars.
The car that just hit a bus.
Yeah, exactly. There's another one. We talked a little bit about and actually I may talk about this one. The Pentagon has released some secret footage, though this was classified at one point, but they declassified it, of some 3D printed drone swarms being launched from fighter jets. Despite all its secrets and classified projects, it's hardly a secret that the U.S. military is a firm believer in 3D printing. Just about every known branch of the military is using and experimenting with 3D printing in some shape or form. Just earlier this year, the Navy adopted 3D printing in one of its warfare centers, while the Army announced the testing of customizable 3D printed reconnaissance drones. But the 3D printing goes far further than just prototyping, as a new release from the Pentagon proves. They have released formerly classified footage of a swarm of 3D printed drones being launched from an F-17 fighter jet moving at 430 miles an hour.
Nothing big, right?
Yeah, no, nothing real big. Of course, the U.S. military is known for its use of drones in combat zones, but 3D printing was rarely involved. The released footage was filmed over the Alaskan skies last summer. These micro-drones, which are launched as canisters on parachutes, break open to release the drone inside with an inch-wide propeller, and are also understood to be programmed to fly as a swarm with a single mind. They can currently be launched from moving F-16s and FA-18 fighter jets. It is understood that the SCO, or Strategic Capabilities Office, is charged with creating new trick plays for the Pentagon using creativity and engineering and the knowledge of both private and government institutions. The institute is being led by physicist William Roper, who has a background in missile defense. Some of the details about the SCO were released in a recent speech by Secretary of Defense Ash Carter, who discussed some proposed issues for the 2017 budget, including a call for $902 million for the SCO. In that speech, he also talked about these fascinating swarming microdrones as just one of the autonomous technologies the SCO is working on. They can fly through heavy winds and be kicked out of the back of a fighter jet moving at Mach 0.9, or they can be thrown into the air by a soldier in the middle of the Iraqi desert.
That's awesome.
These drones have been in the testing stage since 2014. While the specifics of the drone are still classified, it is expected that these drones will be used for surveillance and for confusing the enemy. Being 3D printed, they cost just a fraction of the other types of UAV and weigh just a pound each. As we can see in the clip, falling out of a jet 2,000 feet above ground is no problem for these drones. Once free, they gain situational awareness, and during the Alaska exercise, 150 tests were done with these drones, 72 of them involving fighter jets. The drones are part of a project called Perdix, named after a character in Greek mythology who was turned into a partridge. The program costs about $200 million and is heavily involved in 3D printing.
And actually, it's definitely worth the look. The video is actually, unfortunately, a little underwhelming, but it's very cool to see it. It actually drops from a little capsule, falls with the parachute for a second.
It's not very big.
No, and it's not. It just kind of, the little package goes poof, and this little drone pops out, and you can see it gain its awareness of where it's at, because it literally just free falls for a couple seconds after it pops out of its little pod, and then all of a sudden it just goes. You don't actually see it just take off. You can see it level out. They're very cool. There's there's clips of them, images, so you can see the actual drone. Kind of different when you look at the makeup of them.
I got one other that I want to talk about. I was going to talk about a printer that will print in 21 different metals.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is cool. Go to the website, take a read. It's pretty fascinating. It's a printer that can print in metals from aluminum, nickel, and tin to alloys like stainless steel and nickel titanium.
No, and this isn't what we've spoke about in the past. This is not printing in metal particles suspended in PLA. This is actually printing in metal.
It's described as accurate welding, I guess, is the best way to look at it. But they're doing it just like you would a extrusion printer. Mm-hmm. So my other thing I want to talk about deals with researchers and the use of origami and 3D printing to make surgical tools smaller. Mm-hmm. We've talked in the past about 3D printing and some pretty cool little things, namely the organ transplant for the toddler. Mm-hmm. I've recently posted one where 3D printing helped a teen have reconstructive face surgery after an accident. This one here, over the past few decades, surgical instruments have transformed dramatically into minimally invasive, flexible tools, each with their own purpose. But even these could soon become outdated because a team of researchers from Brigham Young University in Utah are working on the next generation of tools that are so small that incisions heal on their own rather than requiring sutures. Taking inspiration from origami and NASA space concepts for flat tools, these new surgical instruments are being pioneered with 3D printing prototyping. 3D printing is not making the tools, it's just making the prototypes of the tools.
Yeah, giving them a working model.
Right. Origami, of course, is the traditional Japanese art of paper folding, and you may wonder what that has to do with anything scientific at all, but NASA's actually used folding principles to design very efficient satellites and spacecraft that take up minimal amounts of space. BYU mechanical engineer professors Larry Howell and Spencer Magleby are specialists in applying those same folding principles to engineering and are now combining that with medical tools and 3D printing in collaboration with Professor Brian Jensen and other students. Their first results were published in the Journal of Mechanical Sciences. So in a nutshell, they are seeking to develop a surgical technology that will make recovery time after surgeries as quick as possible. The whole concept is to make smaller and smaller incisions by creating devices that can be inserted into a tiny incision and then deployed inside the body to carry out a specific surgical function. A series of mechanisms related to that work have already been licensed to robotic surgery specialists, Intuitive Surgical, makers of the Davinci surgical system. The first results are already quite impressive. One of the first instruments they produced is a robotic forceps that can pass through a hole just 3 millimeters in size. Another project is the D-Core, a flat device that can be inserted into incisions where it expands into two rounded surfaces that roll on each other to mimic the behavior of spinal discs. These tools were first prototyped through 3D printing to test their viability before being produced with other manufacturing options. 3D printing, they say, gives them a great deal of design flexibility and greatly speeds up the entire process of design.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've had a major surgery here 4 years ago or so. I was at work and I fell off a ladder. And I was about 10 feet up the ladder, and when I landed, I wound up shattering the heel on my left foot. When I say shattering, that is the most accurate way I could describe it. The surgeon, when he got in, and it took a week for me to sitting at home on pain meds and keeping my foot elevated for the swelling to go down enough so that he could actually operate. But when he got in there a week later, he described it as a bunch of mud. It was pulverized, almost liquefied. So I have a 6-7 inch incision that goes along my foot and then up the back of my heel, where he had to cut in, fold it open, and then install a Y plate and 6 screws into my heel.
So if you ever want to scare Joe, bring a magnet.
Yeah. It's fun going through metal detectors. That and the titanium rod that's in my hip. Well, not in my hip. I'm not that old. It's actually...
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I broke a femur back in 2004, and they put a titanium rod, and then I've got 1 screw just above my knee, and then 2 up by my actual hip itself, where they actually had to slide in the rod to keep everything aligned. But yeah, metal detectors are fun. Thankfully...
What you got in there?
Yes. Thankfully, though, most metal detectors don't pick them up if they're tuned right.
Yeah.
That's all really the news that I have. I downloaded, again, about a dozen more articles, which I'll post on the website. Please go through them. There's a lot of great information out there, a lot of cool stuff. There's even a article about a Texas couple.
I saw that. That is very neat.
Rather than going through the traditional spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a wedding band, they opted to go with a 3D printed band. I think it's like $100 for the 3D printing of the band, and then the cubic zirconia stone that went with it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it speaks to me because, like I said...
You're thrifty.
I am thrifty. But also, one thing I want to do is get a hold of some of that wax filament and model and print a lost wax castable ring for my wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the other things I have up on the site is sand casting, doing some stuff from sand casting. Last week or this week. Either have it on the website or we'll have it on the website.
You will now.
So many news things to talk about.
It's crazy. Like we've said in the past, we were worried that we would run out of 3D printing things to talk about. Not so much.
No, and it's to the point where, I sit down on, like I said, Saturdays every morning, and I open up all my news articles, and I read a lot of them, or I skim a lot of them before I send them off to my email. So when Saturday comes, I at least know what's out there. Mm-hmm. And then I can kind of group them together. This is stuff that I want to talk about on the podcast, or this is stuff that is really cool and will go on the website.
Yeah. There's just too much.
Full credit to all the places I get my news. They do a great job of keeping me informed.
Definitely.
But besides that, I think that's going to take care of it for us for this week.
We get to work on the printer.
Yeah, easy, Tiger.
I'm very excited.
We got to go have food first.
I have to eat?
Yeah, go eat your broccoli.
I don't want to eat my broccoli. Which is funny you say that, because when I was in school, being socially awkward kids, broccoli was one of the... You can't really do much to Brinkley. Mm-hmm. But broccoli was one of the names that they came up with.
Really?
Yes.
I don't get kids some days.
I don't get kids most days. Especially now. Now that I'm one of the get off my lawn type adults.
Oh, dude. It was funny. The moment I became that get off the lawn type of person, Becky gave me no end of crap for it.
And anymore, I just embrace it. I don't care.
Yeah, you really can't do much. I mean... I really don't mind kids playing outside or anything like that. My get off the lawn moment had to do with some neighbor kids being a little reckless and not watching what they were doing, and I did not want to see them get hurt on my property.
Yeah, I told you about Buddy.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah.
Buddy's my dog. I have a very large German Shepherd that thinks he's a puppy.
And sheds everywhere.
Not right now. Well, he will in a couple months.
Yeah. You look at him and you'll be covered in dog hair. You won't have to get near him. Oh, look, how'd I get dog hair on me?
I got a whole nother dog.
I think that does it for this week.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Joe. And remember, if you can imagine it, you can print it.